So the Bitcoin active addresses are skyrocketing at this moment in time. We're up 35% on the day. Now, a lot of you might be wondering, what is an active address? Why do we care? So let me explain both of those things before we do jump into why this is a massive matter. Now, first of all, let's define what an active address is. Well, as you can see here, this is a Glassnode chart, and their description of Bitcoin active addresses is the number of unique Bitcoin addresses that were active in the network either as a sender or a receiver. Why does this matter? The theory is the more active addresses there are, it probably means that people are selling. For example, I have a hardware wallet where I have all my Bitcoin. It has not moved, or I've received transactions, but I have not sent any transactions for a very, very long period of time, probably coming on for like a year now. I haven't sent any Bitcoin to anyone. I've just been accumulating. So the theory is, if you've got more active addresses, people are sending Bitcoin to different places, and in theory, that could mean they're sending their Bitcoin to exchanges to liquidate. Now, we've defined what active addresses are. Now, why does this matter in the market? Well, let me show you. If we look at the Bitcoin active addresses chart, you can see we have one peak in December 2017. We have one peak coming into May of 2021. And right now, in May of 2022, we're having another huge run up. Let's go over to the macro Bitcoin chart. So, like we said, the first huge peak was down here in December 2017. We have this peak over here. The second peak was coming into May of 2021. And as you can see, there was peaks between April and May coming into, it was basically late April coming into early May that it peaked out. And as you can see, late April is basically, late April is this region here that I've got highlighted. And then coming into May, you can see this is where the drop occurred. So within this vicinity is where we had the top on the Bitcoin addresses. And once again, in May of 2022 rather, at the time of recording this, the Bitcoin active addresses are skyrocketing once again. So let's microdose this data and see, what normally happens when the Bitcoin active addresses skyrocket. Well, first of all, you can see the first peak, like I said, December 2017. Coming into December 2017, active addresses skyrocketed. In my opinion, that means people were sending their Bitcoin to exchanges to liquidate, and you can soon see that the bear market ensued. From the top, we came all the way down 83%. Now, that was a very big drop. That basically called the bear market of that cycle. Now, this technically, it depends what you want to define as a bear market. I don't think there's a textbook definition of a bear market. Some people say as long as you're making macro higher highs, you're not in a bear market. Some people have bull market support bands and say as long as you're above that, you're not in a bear market. Some people count the 200-day moving average as the bull market support band. And some people just simply use their emotions, depending on whether we're going up or down, to define whether we're in a bull or a bear market. But the matter of the fact is, you can see we had a big peak here coming into April and May of 2021. This is where we peaked and we had a big flush out. Like I said, I personally would not call this a bear market. If anything, I'd call it a redistribution / mini bear market. I'd say mini bear market seems pretty well. I'd say mini bear market probably defines this very well. So as you can see, after your active addresses skyrocketed in May, or coming into May, late April, we landslided again. So the first time this happened, you can see we moved down, what was it, 83%, coming on to 84%. The second time we did this, we had a 55% drop. And coming into this week, really, if we go onto the daily, you can see this is going very parabolic today. At the time of recording this, there's 1.17 million active addresses, which is pushing on for all-time highs. We're coming up to 1.79 million, which is where we previously topped in the 2017 cycle, and we're coming up to the previous all-time high, which is the active addresses that we had coming into last year, April 2021, before we landslided. So like I said, what is the significance of this? Well, historically, if we look at the peaks in the number of active addresses, you can see that it soon ensues, at least with all the data points that we've got running off the previous bull and bear cycle so far, it has 100% accuracy of calling these tops before we do move down to lower price targets and enter a bear market. Now, in my opinion, does this mean that Bitcoin is just going to completely get capitulated down to, you know, 20k, 18k levels? In my opinion, I don't necessarily think so, and there is something also very bullish that I would also like to microdose with you before we do jump into, or before we do exit the video. And you can see the Bitcoin new addresses are skyrocketing at this moment in time, and historically these normally skyrocket as we're about to enter a bullish phase. So we're seeing a divergence between these two charts that we haven't previously seen, and let me show you as well. So you can see we had the first peak here of the new active addresses coming in for December of 2017, and you know, this time the new addresses actually did call the all-time high. But coming into December of 2020, if we find December of 2020 somewhere down here, you can see December 2020 was kind of running into the start of this bull market, and as the new addresses were skyrocketing, you know, more people were piling into Bitcoin. So I think new addresses can be very 50-50, because it depends what you mean by a new address, because obviously you can create a new address on an exchange to go and liquidate your funds, or you could be creating new addresses which is a sign of adoption. So very interesting stuff with what we're seeing here on the Bitcoin active addresses and new addresses. And I should probably define new addresses. Bitcoin new addresses is simply the number of unique addresses that appeared for the first time in a Bitcoin transaction. So basically new addresses. I feel like that's fairly self-explanatory. So yeah, like I said, that's really what I wanted to share with you. We are seeing something very interesting right now, and historically, looking at the Bitcoin active addresses, when these normally start skyrocketing and pushing up like this, it's normally not the greatest sign for Bitcoin. So this is definitely something very interesting to microdose, giving you a different perspective on the markets. I am of the opinion that Bitcoin is going to be coming down to the 33,000 vicinity before finding a bottom. I find it very hard to believe that Bitcoin would be coming down to your 20,000 region. However, depending on how you look at this, there's a lot of theories, and I've noticed recently there is Elliott wave theory very much backing that we could be moving down to 18,000. Like I said, my channel with these macro videos, my aim is to provide you a range of different perspectives that you wouldn't normally find on different channels. I do think it's important to keep our minds open to these different theories. Like I said, Elliott wave theory is really calling that we should be moving down to 18 to 20,000. I say this in my Elliott wave theory videos. I'm not the biggest fan of Elliott wave theory. I do not believe that we're going to be going down to those levels. However, I do like talking about these different theories and exploring different scenarios with you. So very interesting. Historically, the Bitcoin active addresses, when they skyrocket, not normally good for the Bitcoin price. Let's keep an eye on what will be going on. I think we probably are going to have a capitulation event down to 33,000. The active addresses are screaming it, the stock market's screaming it. But yeah, that's all I've got for this video. Hope you found value in this. As always, not financial advice. Cowboy out, and most importantly, peace.